Welcome one, welcome all to SimSpeed TV. It is time for the second round of AOG Fixed Indy Australia. Season started a couple of weeks ago at Sebring International Raceway. We had an absolutely chaotic night with plenty of action. Now we move to a track that is a little bit simpler than Sebring and for sure less bumpy. We're racing at the new Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course for the second round of this season. To bring it to you all live here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Kick on SimSpeed TV is me, Reese Gardner. Brady Baldwin joins me in the commentary box, and Jay Kennedy, of course, pressing all the buttons behind the scenes. Well, Brady, this is certainly a track that I've been looking forward to seeing racing on. I don't think I've actually commentated a broadcasted race at this track yet, so it'll be a fun new experience.
Yeah, 100% race. I'm pretty sure it is my first commentary gig here as well. It's a very interesting track and very well suited for these IR-18 IndyCars. As we zoom in on our Google Earth shot to, funnily enough, Speedway, Indiana, looking in at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, obviously the famous Brickyard Oval, and gets me a little bit excited. Up the top left is a little dirt oval, but tonight we're racing on the 14-corner road course, just under 4 kilometers in length, and this layout has been in existence since 2014. A few varieties of different layouts have been used for the road course over the years, but this is the most up-to-date one and will certainly provide a challenge for all the drivers here tonight.
Yeah, it definitely will. It's provided some pretty good racing over the years, has the Indy road course, first constructed in a slightly different form for when Formula One raced the United States Grand Prix here from 2000 to 2007. Around the turn 8 and 9 area, there was a very tight double hairpin, but of course that's gone now, replaced with a nice sweeping S-bend. And of course the little diversion at turn 5 to the infield has been eliminated for this version of the road course. In its place is the turn 5 and 6 chicane, which is certainly going to catch many drivers out. If there's one thing that defines this layout of Indy road course, it's that in a few turns, the curbs are very high. You do not want to hit them, otherwise they'll spin you right out.
Yeah, you don't want to hit them in these type of cars because you'll just bottom out the car and probably cause a lot of damage to your car. So it's something you want to try and avoid. A few of the curbs are pretty flat. You can use them to your advantage, but some of them, like at that chicane, you want to stay off them as much as possible. As we go to our format here tonight, 15-minute qualifying that we're halfway through at the moment. Obviously, push to pass unavailable throughout the qualifying session. We're racing for 50 laps here tonight at Indianapolis Road Course, 80-minute time limit. Obviously, just like Sebring 2 weeks ago, both drivers must use the alternate red wall compound and the primary black walled tyre compound throughout the races, which will be interesting to see what type of strategy everyone goes for. The pit lane closes as well as soon as the safety car period starts, and each driver gets 10 push-to-pass periods throughout the race and a maximum of 20 seconds. So look for them to get on the push-bar as soon as they come out of that final corner and use it down the front straight race.
Yeah, absolutely. 10 push-to-passes over the course of the race for a maximum of 20 seconds at a time. You need to be careful about when you use push to pass. I think the main place is going to be coming out of the final left-hander coming towards the start-finish line. Let's see how things stand coming into this race. Daniel Edmonds, of course, taking a dominant victory at Sebring, with Cameron Dance, the reigning champion of the series, finishing in second, with Tim Vaughan for Vermilion Motorsports on the podium. Daniel Benefield with a great fight through the field. He took an alternate sort of tyre strategy at Sebring. He started on the soft compound. Ultimately, didn't work out entirely for him. He had to be very careful of the difficulties around and behind him. There was a huge fight through the midfield, a giant pack of cars. I think drivers like Harry Lawrence, James Glasspool, and Tyson Broad will be looking for a little bit more coming out of this round. In the Teams Championship, Simrigs.com DPR on top, and it looks like they are the best prepared for this particular round. Drop Bear Motorsport has come out with a full complement of drivers, as has Vermilion Motorsports. Orbit Motorsport, Cameron Dance, the main driver for that team, in 4th place at the moment. But all throughout the field, Brady, looks like the teams are incredibly competitive. This has turned out to be a fantastic series. I'm so glad that we're able to broadcast IndyCar racing again on the iRacing service. The first season of Fixed Indy Australia was certainly a highlight, and it looks like this second season is going to be more of the same.
Yeah, 100%. We had a fantastic race 2 weeks ago at Sebring. Some fantastic battles all throughout the field. And there's last round's winner, Daniel Edmonds, currently P10 in the standings at the moment. Currently just under half a second off the pole time. The American Adam Blocker in the 78, his first race of the season. Currently provisional pole, but here is Edmonds finishing off his flying lap. What will the time be? It is a 10.9, which puts him up to P number 3, Reese.
Yeah, good job there from Daniel Edmonds. He certainly got his driving down in this fixed setup series. And, well, it's going to be tough for anyone to overcome Adam Blocker here, because he is known for being one of the best IndyCar drivers on the iRacing service. Has raced many seasons in the Lionheart IndyCar series. Isaac Edwards, meanwhile, 28th place at the moment. Doesn't look like an improvement for him, as Tim Vaughan, who got on the podium last round, currently in 2nd, looking to improve or just looking to practice a pit stop. The pit entry here at Indianapolis is certainly one to look at. Got to negotiate a couple of corners on the way in, and you've got to be careful of the wall on the outside.
Yeah, it is a little bit of an awkward of a pit entry. You gotta try and keep it nice and tight to the right hand side and try and stay off those walls. Like you said, he's got Rankin in the 49 machine. Come around to set another lap. Currently position number 16 is Scotty, representing our team here at Sim Speed here tonight. So is Cameron Dance, and Scotty will come across the line. His best lap was 11.6. He now goes 11.2 up to position number 11.
Good stuff from Scott Rankin, who was very aggressive in the first stint last round at Sebring. He was another one of the drivers to start on the alternate compound, as Reese Margetts makes his way up into 2nd place with only 100th of a second separating him and Blocker. Awesome to see that kind of pace. Michael O'Brien, meanwhile, coming through the final sequence of corners now. 8th place at the moment. 11.1 is his fastest lap, and it looks like he's going to once again take to pit lane. What about Tyson Broad? Top 10 in the championship, top 10 in qualifying right now. Is he going to be able to do anything to improve his position further there? 11.1 to 11.088. That gives him 2 positions. Thomas Hims and Michael O'Brien shuffled down to 8th and 9th. Only 2 minutes left in the qualifying session. There's going to be a full, nice long race coming up, and that means that drivers are able to finish their qualifying lap as soon as the time hits 0. If it was a double race session, then they wouldn't be able to finish the lap they're on. Once the time hits 0, you'd be booted back to the pits. Not the case here. So drivers like Brody Shepherd will be hoping for another opportunity after this lap to improve.
Yeah, it's a really tight qualifying session at the moment. It looks like Adam Blocker as well improved on that last lap. A 10.4 right to the top. Brody Shepherd, he improves 2 spots to 17th. It's Oars. Got in the 25 as at an incident. Looks like that's around turn 10 area. The front wing completely missing. I was about to touch on Reese. It's really good to see a few new names in the race here tonight. Obviously, Adam Blocker currently P1, Michael O'Brien currently 9th, and a few other new names that weren't there at round 1. So really cool to see a diverse grid, a few new names on the grid as well, as we see Tim Vaughan on another lap. Probably his last lap for the session. He might just sneak around for one more, but he's currently P3, about 4.5 tenths away from the 78 of Adam Blocker. He doesn't need to improve much to jump the 110 of Reese Margetts. He's coming around now, turn number 12, heavy braking zone to the start of the oval. Now there's tricky infield section, a right and a left. You got to get easy on the throttle to come out of turn number 13 through 14 onto the banking, onto the oval. We'll see if this is an improvement. Current time is a 10.872. He goes 10.6. That goes to position number 2.
Good job from Tim Vaughan right in the final moments of the session. Daniel Edmonds, meanwhile, shuffled down to 4th in the midst of all of this. He's going to be looking for a little bit more out of this lap. He commits to the final corner and tries his best to get on the power as quickly as he can, hug the inside, and then draw out, just avoid the grass there to the end of the session. Where does Daniel Edmonds end up putting himself here? 1 minute 10.8. That is an improvement in lap time, but not in position. He will start no better than 4th. Our championship leader coming into this round. Bailey Evans, meanwhile, 110.9. And that's a big improvement for him. Up to P5 from 10th. Beautiful stuff from many of the simrigs.com DPR drivers in this session. And that's the last driver across the line there. That's Atsushi Osafune, the one of 2 internationals in the field tonight, representing Japan. And he had a very eventful race at Sebring last round. So let's see if this round at Indy brings him some success. Robbie Baxter, it looks like, has managed to start another lap, but he's run a little bit wide there in the final couple of corners. So I don't think there's going to be much of an improvement from him. Can Scott Rankin get into the top 10 here? He's a bit wide and deep at turn 12. That's a shame there for Scotty, but he's going to commit to the end of this lap anyway. That's a real shame. A little bit of extra track time will certainly work out for him, but he'll be ruining that slight mistake there on that lap, and it wasn't going to be an improvement in any case. So that, I think, just about concludes most of the laps in this qualifying session. O'Brien is going to just take a sedate tour back to the pits. He's not going to have much time to get there, though, because we only have 15 seconds left on the overtime clock. So I think with that, we can go through the grid for round 2 of Fixed Indy Australia Season 2. Adam Blocker. We usually see him racing for Americans Down Under and V8 Scops. He starts on pole position here at Indianapolis with Tim Vaughan in the Vermilion Motorsports number 74 alongside him. Reese Margetts and Daniel Edmonds. Simrigs.com DPR locking out the second row with Bailey Evans also there for DPR. Cameron Dance, the reigning champion from last season, starting out of 6th. Michael O'Brien, good enough for P7 there, starting alongside Delta Sports' Harry Lawrence. And then the first drop bear car, Tyson Broad, is going to start alongside Team Jinx Shifters' Thomas Hins.
Goody Rankin and Dwayne Burns will start 11th and 12th here tonight. Benjamin Johnson and Christopher Ireland will share row number 7. They will start 13th and 14th on the grid, the 727 and the 23 respectively. Joe Mahoney and Scott Keselowski will start 15th and 16th. Brody Shepherd and Brady Carr will start 17th and 18th. And then rounding out the first 10 rows will be Ryan Jones and Peter Baxter.
Dean Jacobson, part of the BE Electrical Race on Oz team, starting alongside Atsushi Osafune, with Jordan Ferguson starting alongside Grant Matterford for 23rd and 24th. Sam Katakouzanos, 25th place, alongside Mark Cochran. And then our last 2 cars are going to be Greg Patrick and Robbie Baxter. A very big field here, rounded out by Isaac Edwards, who looks like is going to be starting from the pit lane here. So the rest of the field is going to be starting their formation lap as we speak. A full formation lap here at Indianapolis, Brady, gives us some time to go through the track at a nice slow pace. Meanwhile, Brady, Jace just told us to look at the air temperature. My lord, 10 degrees Celsius. It is freezing in Speedway, Indiana right now.
I've never seen that before. I've never seen it below 18 degrees. So not sure if that's a glitch or something. I know it's not meant to rain here in Indianapolis quite yet. But yeah, it's very strange, and very low track temp is 17 as well. So should be a lot of grip for these drivers, and probably tyres lasting a little bit longer as well. But it is very strange to see, Reese. I haven't seen that before.
Yeah, goodness me. I think the drivers starting on the hard prime tyre are going to have a very tough time here. Oh, we've got Isaac Edwards, Cameron Dance, and Thomas Hinz on the top row here on the Zoom wall. Dan Yeaman, of course, race director. He's going to be waiting in the wings in the safety car if there is a need for it. Greg Patrick racing in VR as well. Quite an interesting tyre selection here. It looks like the majority of the field have gone for the prime tyre. You have to go all the way down to Ferguson and Osafune to see the first drivers running the alternate tyre compound. Seems like Ryan Jones is also running the alternate tyre. Who else? We've got Mark Cochran and Rob Baxter. Seems like Isaac Edwards has bolted the tyre compound, softer tyre compound on as well. So this is going to be very tough for all of the drivers starting on that hard rubber. No tyre warmers in IndyCar.
Yeah, it's much the same as last round at Sebring race. So majority of the field starting on the black wall primary tyre. The information we got pre-race is the red wall tyre is not lasting very long around this circuit at all. So don't be surprised if these guys go for a long first stint on the primary tyre. Obviously, we're talking about pretty much the whole top. We go, Ryan Jones, I believe, is the first one in 19th on the option tyre. So everyone ahead of him expect to go long, then do a short middle stint on the red wall option tyre, and then go another longer stint at the end. That would be my prediction, but we'll have to wait and see what happens here tonight, Reese.
Yeah, certainly will. We're expecting 2 pit stops out of this round, same as at Sebring. So 2 stints potentially on the prime tyre and then 1 on the option. This will be interesting as Adam Blocker brings us around to start the race. The pace car already in pit lane, and now it's all up to Adam Blocker to decide when the field goes green. When does he decide to unleash the full power of the twin-turbo V6 engines that power these Indy cars? There we go. As they make their way into the start-finish straight, the green flag flies and we are away for Fixed Indy Australia Season 2, Round 2. Great start from Blocker. Tim Vaughan in second. Cameron Dance already going to the inside here. He's making it 3 wide with the DPR cars of Edmonds and Margetts as they make their way into turn 1 for the first time. Drivers giving each other a good amount of room. Isaac Edwards making his way to the end of the pit lane to start the race here as there's all sorts of action throughout the entire field. Thomas Hinz getting it done on Tyson Broad. Good defense there all the way through the chicane for the first time. The amount of drivers off the racetrack, just as many as there are on.
Yeah, this is wild racing to start off here, Reese. Massive move as well from Cam Dance at turn 1, right from 6th to 3rd. That big move down the inside of the DPR cars, and we're clean and green so far. Adam Blocker still leading us from Tim Vaughan. Cameron Dance into 3rd. Edmonds and Margetts under pressure from Harry Lawrence in P6. It's frenetic scenes early on this race. Everyone's trying to get that track position early on as Harry Lawrence tries to go around the outside of Margetts through turn number 13. He won't get it done. He'll slot him back behind as we complete lap number 1 already, Reese.
Yep, Michael O'Brien on the push to pass. We saw Thomas Hinz using push to pass as well on the opening lap. Ben Johnson joining them in all of that. Blocker leads into turn 1 here at the start of lap 2. Harry Lawrence cannot make his way past Reese Margetts. Now the big loser out of all of that, there's actually 2 of them. Bailey Evans down to 11th and Scott Kozlowski into the pit lane at the end of lap 1 here. Already was down 10 positions, and I think, yeah, looks like part of the front wing is missing there. That's a big shame there for Scott Kozlowski. DPR 1 man down as we see big moves threatening to happen coming into the twisties.
Yeah, I'm just trying to pick up what happened to Kozlowski. It looks like he's made rear contact with Benjamin Johnson at the exit of the 5 and 6 chicane. Just got up a bit too close to Johnson and unfortunately broke off part of his front wing. Unfortunately, I'll have to get that fixed and be right off sync as we pick up the bowler meter replay. So this is on board with Kozlowski. In front of him is the drop bear machine of Ben Johnson. And a little bit of a check-up and unfortunately really had nowhere to go. So it folded underneath the car. Unfortunately, he's had to go to the pit lane, get that sorted. So it's going to be a tough night for him for the rest of the night.
It is indeed. How's the pace from Adam Blocker, meanwhile? Already 1 minute 10.8. That's ridiculous pace from our leader and only 4/10 off his fastest qualifying time. People have formed into lines here. Oh, I saw a car off in the gravel at one of the DPR cars, Kozlowski. he's come out of pit lane and had further issues there. So fortunately, everyone is able to avoid him, but we'll keep our eye on the fights going on further up the field. Looks like Harry Lawrence and Reese Margetts are trading places here. And look who's joined the party. Tyson Broad for Drop Bear Motorsports. This is giving an advantage to Thomas Hinz behind as well. Proper 4-car pack now for 6th place. And they're all trying to chase down Reese Margetts for the last position in the top 5.
Yeah, this is also bringing in Michael O'Brien, Bailey Evans, even Dwayne Burns and Christopher Ireland are fighting into this as well. So there's a bit of a train forming here in behind Reese Margetts, who's currently P number 5, and Harry Lawrence will want to get the move done. Looks pretty pacey early on the 21 machines, so Hinzy's just sitting in behind there, currently in P8. He's waiting for the right opportunity. Johnson again on the push pass. He's already used 3, and we're only done 3 laps, so Ben Johnson pretty trigger happy tonight. It was Scott Rankin last week. This week's Ben Johnson using up those push passes early on.
Yeah, we'll see how that works out for him coming through the final laps of the race. The yellow box to the left there on the dash with the number 7. That's how many push-to-passes left the driver has. That's how the drivers can tell. Of course, we have graphics up here on the SimSpeed broadcast to let you all know. With Jordan Ferguson, it seems, having a bit of a problem there, down to 23rd place. He had a bit of an off-track excursion just a few moments ago, and that's made him fall off the back of the main pack. And it's a huge main pack indeed. Let's see what happened to him.
Yeah, unfortunately, he just locks the rears and gets onto the dirt. Fortunately, saves. It doesn't look like he has much damage, but he's able to continue on throughout the rest of the race, hopefully, Reese.
Yeah, here's hoping. Had to get on the anchors a little bit early. O'Brien, meanwhile, on push to pass. He's chasing down Thomas Hinz, trying to get a little bit closer to get the slipstream. The half yellow, half black car you saw in the distance there is Mr. O'Brien racing behind the purple and white Team Jinx Shifters machine. Now, this battle for 5th all the way down to 18th spot. This is everyone in the pack. There's no driver here that is more than a second behind the car in front. That's pretty incredible. We've got to go all the way down here to Chris Ireland in 12th place to see where the middle of the pack is. He's chasing down Dwayne Burns, who is certainly an IndyCar competitor, with Michael O'Brien going for a spin. One of the DPR cars slow as well. What's happened here to Michael O'Brien? Looks like Bailey Evans tried to put a move on him, and there may have been contact.
Yeah, there was contact from Evans heading into turn number 7, the 90-degree left-hander, and Michael O'Brien rejoining the track. So wouldn't be surprised if there is a penalty from that for the 2-2-1. Also, a 10-second time penalty has come through for car number 15, which is Mark Conquerin. There's contact on lap 1 with Grant Matterford, sorry. But this is a 5-meter replay of Evans. Just a lock-up, got in there a little bit too hot into the back of Michael O'Brien. Unfortunately, O'Brien will be right down the order now as Bailey Evans, live on screen, just had another massive lock-up. Drove right in the side there of Benjamin Johnson. Both stay alive, but that's 2 mistakes in the recent half lap there for Bailey Evans. He'll have to try and tone it down just a little bit, try and get his head back in the game.
Yeah, seems like he's being a bit too aggressive on the brakes there. That's a big shame. This leaves him open to an attack from Scott Rankin, who, no surprise, is on push to pass, giving him 60 extra horsepower. Benjamin Johnson sees all of this happening behind him and thinks, okay, I'm just going to let Evans go. This isn't a fight worth fighting at the moment. Oh, whoa, Christopher Ireland and Dwayne Burns. There was a huge oversteer moment for Ireland there. Very well held. He was desperate to get past Dwayne Burns there.
Yeah, some very aggressive driving in the early stages of this race. We're only on lap number 6. So this is Ireland and Burns on the exit here of turn number 10. Does it? Yeah, he drops the left rear off in the grass. And really nice save there for Ireland, the DPR car. But we're only starting lap 7. And these guys have been on it all race long. There's still got another 44 laps to go. And this is an interesting little battle forming here for position number 3 between Cameron Deans and Daniel Edmonds. A round 1 winner from Sebring. And also second place from round number 1 as well, Cameron Deans. And Adam Blocker and Timothy Vaughan, they've checked out at the moment. Adam Blocker 1.6 second lead over Vaughan. And Vaughan has just over 3 seconds back to Dan. So those two doing it pretty comfortably in the early stages of this race.
That they are. And I think if Dance and Edmonds continue fighting like this, it's just going to increase the advantage that our top two currently have. Fantastic job for Adam Blocker here to hold on to that lead like he has. Cameron Dance, though, I think starting to feel the pressure here for the last spot on the podium. Remember, it is only very early in the race, and everyone in our top 7 has yet to use any push-to-passes right now, and that is the smart move, I think, with... looks like drive-through penalty here for Bailey Evans. That was for the contact we saw with Michael O'Brien, and he will serve that and continue on from there. Dance, meanwhile, still facing off the pressure from Daniel Edmonds as this 4-car fight is looking incredible. Reese Margetts, Harry Lawrence, Tyson Broad, and Thomas Hinz. These guys are all pushing as hard as they possibly can. Meanwhile, Atsushi Osafune making up a place there. He is already up 6 spots to 16th place, so he should be very happy with his performance so far.
He's one of those guys that started on the Red Wall alternate tyre compound, so he's making hay while it lasts on this softer compound of tyre, making up 6 positions already. So awesome job team. Greg Patrick, we just see it on screen quickly. He's also fair way up through the field. He's on the primary tyre as well, so he's just staying out of trouble at the moment. +7 for Patrick in the VR, which would be a bit of an experience in these machines. Greg Patrick, Full Send Motorsport 77, doing a fantastic job at the moment. Cam Dance looks like on the timing just skipped away about a car length over Daniel Edmonds, but the pressure is still on between those two. A pretty good fight. They've checked out a little bit over Margetts back in 5th, but the pressure is definitely on Cameron Dance trying to hold off Edmonds here.
Oh, it is. Every time they get to turn 1, Daniel Edmonds is right on the rear diffuser of Cameron Dance. This is a huge fight between these two, very well matched in terms of outright pace. But I tell you what, Dance, I think the main reason he's there is, of course, that aggressive move into turn 1 on the opening lap. He positioned his car just right, but the run is here for Daniel Edmonds, and he makes the move coming into turn 7. Good stuff there. Cameron Dance saw him coming from a mile back and has got a good racer's brain. He knows when to give it up. He can always fight back later on.
Yeah, Cam will just be playing the long game now. We're only on lap 9 at the moment, so he'll just be waiting out. Might do something a little bit different with strategy to maybe get a little bit of track position on Edmonds when the pit stops come around. We're only about to start lap 10, so I think we're still a little bit away from those pit stops, maybe 5 to 10 laps away, I would think, from any type of pit stops. So Dance will just wait it out for the moment, I think. Sit in behind, maybe save a little bit of fuel potentially if he can stay in that slipstream of Daniel Edmonds and try and fight it later on. But the pack behind them is still raging on between Margetts, Lawrence, Broad, and Hinz. They've broken away from the next pack of Burns in Christopher Island, but these guys have been going at it for the first 9 laps of this race, apologise. So it's still going on, and Margetts still holding on to P5 for now.
Yep, doing well enough. He doesn't have to worry too much about a ton of pressure from behind. They are starting, I think, to make up some time on the drivers ahead. Edmonds with a 1:12.1, and Reese Margetts was matching him on the previous lap. Hinz, the fastest car in this whole pack, going up to the battle for third, 1:11.98 on the last lap. Brodie Shepherd, meanwhile, has just come in for a pit stop, and he had a bit of an issue at the exit of pit lane, we're being told. What happened here? He got back onto the racetrack, and oh dear, looks like a car coming up on him. He didn't try to fight it, but just a bit too much of the grass there spinning him around. He switched from the prime to the option compound, and unfortunately, I think a bit of that advantage has just been blown away by that.
Yeah, it looks like maybe just a bit of cold tyres potentially raced just for that spin for Shepherd. Unfortunately, he's way down the order now. We're just getting through a 10-second time penalty. Will be given to Peter Baxter, the 43. There was contact with Brodie Shepherd on lap number 7. So,
okay. I think that might be part of the reason why Shepherd decided to go into the pits early.
Well, I did have a quick look race, and Shepard was actually missing part of his front wings, so I assume that is why he pitted a little bit early, and then unfortunately that mistake on top of that is sort of putting way down the order. He's currently 1 lap down, but I assume when everyone comes into the lane, he should be able to get that lap back, but it can be hard work from here for him.
Yeah, unless there's a safety car, of course. Oh, dear. That is the number 21 there, making some big moves sideways. Gently does it, coming out of the final corner. This is the fight between Broad, Lawrence, and Hins. Hins doing very well to take advantage of all of this. On the outside of Broad coming into the first turn. Does he carry enough momentum to get it done? No. Broad will shut the door on the outside. So Harry Lawrence, I think, is going to be ruining that slight mistake that he made. Just lost it on the brakes here coming into the final couple of corners. On the replay, we will see it all up behind Reese Margetts, who, oh, that is way too deep there for Lawrence. And he actually got collected. No, sorry. No, that was Baxter. Sorry. That was Pete Baxter.
Shepard.
The second car in. Right, I see. My apologies. We were looking at something slightly different there.
Yeah, that was the contact with Baxter and Shepard that unfortunately got Baxter that penalty, so he'll have to serve that either post-race or his next pit stop. As the still battle on screen, Lawrence has dropped back a few positions here, so he's had a bit of a rough last lap. Unfortunately, Tyson Broad got past him, and now Thomas Hins has also gone past him as well. So Lawrence only a couple laps ago was up in P number 6, now down to position number 8. As Thomas Hins, he's on the push to pass just to try and defend off Harry Lawrence for that position, and he will hang on to into turn 1. Hinsy's already used 3 push to passes, and interesting enough, the top 5 guys have not used a push pass as of yet. So hasn't Harry Lawrence, Dwayne Burns, Brady Carr, Joe Mahoney, and plenty of others haven't used it yet either. But Ben Johnson, he's used 3, and Thomas Hins also 3. So those guys using up early and try and make positions.
Yep, usually what you end up seeing, drivers further down the field or drivers that think they have something more to fight with will use quite a bit of their push to pass early on. Grant Matterford and Mark Cochran, meanwhile, Pulse Racing Team versus Apex Esports League. This is looking like a good fight, and it is outside the top 20, but there are plenty of points-paying positions to fight for in fixed Indy Australia. Seems like Matterford has just made the move on Cochran and is really streaking away from him now.
Yeah, he definitely is, and there's just so much going on all throughout the field race. You can't take your eyes off it for 1 second because there's always something going on. But except for Adam Blocker, really, he's 3.5 seconds up the road from Timothy Vaughan at the moment. Him and Timothy Vaughan actually are the only ones that really have nothing going on at the moment. They're in clean air, no trouble from whatsoever. I can't say the same for Chris Olin and Dwayne Burns. They're currently battling it out for position number 9, and Christopher Olin has got that move done, I believe, at turn number 1, and he has got that move done at turn 1. So Olin now up 5 positions into position number 9. He's going to try and chase down Harry Lawrence and PA, but he's about 5 seconds up the road. So bit of work for Christopher Olin to do, but he's obviously got pace when he's up 5 positions. There's another battle on screen here between Benjamin Johnson, Brady Carr, and Scott Rankin, a 4-way battle. Joe Mahoney not far away either. So, like I said, Reece, there's plenty going on, and there's always something to watch throughout the field.
Well, there absolutely is. Mahoney's the quickest car in this pack, set a 1 minute 12.298 on the previous lap. Compare that to a 12.4 for Rankin, a 12.5 for Johnson, and a 12.6 for Brady Carr. So that's all of the cars in this pack in reverse order. The trailing car is the quickest right now. Do any of them get on the push to pass here, or do they wait for another opportunity later on? Rankin, he made headlines for his very aggressive use of push to pass in the opening stints at Sebring. It looks like he's backed that off now just a little bit. He has used 1 push to pass, but he's not as trigger happy as he was a couple of weeks ago. So maybe this will pay dividends for him towards the end of the race. Seems like Mahoney as well had a bit of an issue in the opening sector. He's fallen off the back of these 3, so not much he can do from here. can Brady Carr hold on to that 11th position and make some time up on Dwayne Burns and Chris Ireland, who are actually running quite similar pace to them.
Yeah, Brady Carr also a +7 as well. Started position number 18 up to 11 now, so he's got some really good pace aboard that drop air motorsport machine. So don't be surprised if he does catch the back of Burns and on with the pace he's obviously had working his way through the field. And interesting enough, we're on lap 15, about to start lap 16. We have not seen anyone dive into the pit lane yet. So my suspicions or thoughts were right, as Ryan Jones, he's called my bluff because he's coming into the pit lane race.
Yeah, righto. After 16 laps complete, this is going to be a long middle stint for him, I think. Either that, or he's going to try and have a go at a short middle stint on the option compound once again. But he will have to switch to the hard tyre at some point. Remember, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 drivers on the option compound right now, and the 2 at the back, Brody Shepherd and Scott Kozlowski, took them at their pit stops for damage. Ryan Jones is finally made his way back out, and he is on the hard compound tyre. So look for Jones to potentially switch back to the option, the softer compound, after a long middle stint.
Well, he's gone 15 laps on that soft tyre in the first stint, so don't be surprised if he tries to maybe get to about lap 40, go really long in this middle stint, and then charge home with about 10 laps on a new pair of soft tyres. So watch out for Ryan Jones later on the piece, because he could have some really serious speed charging through the field. He's just past Isaac Edwards, and Adam Blocker's already passed him as well, so he'll get that lap back once those guys pit. But we can officially probably say now the pit window is now open, so we'll have to keep an eye out throughout the field and see who is the next one to make a move into the pit lane.
This fight's still ongoing here, with Harry Lawrence catching back up to Thomas Hinds, Tyson Broad and Reese Margette. Lawrence starting to dial in the pace here. He ran an 11.6 on the last lap. That's pretty stonking pace there. 11.8 for Hinds, 11.9 for Broad, a 12.18 for Reese Margette, who's not getting any slipstream assistance. Still too far ahead to Cameron Dance in 4th spot right now. None of the drivers here making their way into the pit lane. Of course, they started on the prime compound. They'll want to try and extend this first stint out as much as they can, and then potentially pull a bit of a surprise and run the option compound in the middle to try and get a leg up on their rivals. No push to passes being used by any of them either, so it's all down to driving ability. It's all down to whether or not you can take advantage of the slipstream. Meanwhile, this fight between Dwayne Burns and Christopher Ireland still not coming alive as it was before. Brady Carr and the drivers with him not catching up to them either. They're actually running a little bit slower than Burns and Ireland right now.
Yeah, it's still a bit of a stagnant battle as we see a little bit of an off there for Thomas Hinds in the background. This still 4-way fight between Margette, Broad, Hinds and Lawrence.
Oh,
wouldn't be
ranking
surprised.
on Johnson.
Oh, nice move there. That was at turn number 7, I believe. Yes,
Yep.
It was for Scotty Rankin. Now gets the move done. Now to position number 12 for Scotty. Gets the move done on Ben Johnson, so they'll put him up to 12th position. Unfortunately, he started at 11, so he's down 1, but he's back on the charge here as we starting lap 19 this time by, and Scott Rankin will now have his eyes set on Brady Carr for position number 11 again, as Chris Ireland, Dwayne Burns, once again, they're going to be side by side down the front straight away. Who will yield? Who will try and outbreak themselves? Ireland will have the inside run, and Burns will back out of it, slip in behind, and they'll continue to fight another day.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Burns didn't try and catch the slipstream from Ireland there. Would have helped him get a little bit closer, but maybe he's just biding his time here, trying to pile the pressure on and force Ireland into an error. Doesn't seem like there's much of a chance of that, though. Chris Ireland's still up 5 spots, and was second most positions gained in the field, but we're seeing a little bit more positions gained from Atsushi Osafune and Jordan Ferguson, both up 6 places each. Greg Patrick is now the car with the most positions gained, up into 8th spot, but don't forget, he is one of the many drivers in this field that has not visited the pit lane yet. There's only 4 drivers that have made visits to pit lane. One of them, Bailey Evans, drive-through penalty. Make that 5. Isaac Edwards has jumped in for his first pit stop after 17 laps completed on the prime tyre. On the option tyre, my apologies. Always get them mixed up. But there's not much that Dwayne Burns can do here to overcome Chris Ireland. Now, those track temperatures that we were seeing down the bottom right, I think that's going to give a little bit more of an advantage to drivers running the option compound. Because remember, we were talking to drivers before the first round at Sebring, Brady. They said that it's only about 3 laps worth that the option tyre really has a pace advantage over the hard tyre. Here, in cooler track temperatures, they might be able to get a little bit more out of it.
Well, we did see Ryan Jones run 15 laps on the Red Bull option tyre. We just seen Isaac Edwards come in on lap 18 from those option tyres now onto the primary tyres. So seems guys are running a little bit longer. They will need 2 stops for fuel in this race. It'll be interesting to see how they stagger out the stints, knowing that they've got to use both compounds throughout the race. We haven't seen anyone else pit from the primary tyre as of yet, so they'll probably be keeping an eye out on those guys that have gone longer on those option tyres and try and, if they got a spotter, to monitor their lap times and see if it is worth potentially doing a bit of a longer stint than what they would have thought on those option tyres. As Brady Carr comes in the pits for his first pit stop of the night, he was on the Blackwell primary tyres, so he's the first one from that tyre to pit, and so is Jordan Ferguson in lane as well. So we'll have to see, especially what Brady Carr does, because he was just outside the top 10 when he pitted.
Yeah, for sure. Atsushi Osafune has also come in, as well as Peter Baxter. And Osafune and Ferguson were on the option compound. They started the race on that. Wouldn't be surprised if they switched to the hard tyre, and that's exactly what they've done. Meanwhile, Brady Carr has decided to switch from the hard to the soft. So look out for Brady Carr here. Could potentially see some big laps from him as all of this pack we're seeing come in. Reese Margette's in. It looks like Daniel Edmonds has come in as well.
Timothy Vaughan.
Oh, yeah. Timothy Vaughan from second place. Adam Blocker and Cameron Dance will stay out, but looks like most of the field has decided now is the time for that first pit stop. Who wins the battle of the pit crews here? It's a very long pit lane at Indianapolis. You're spending a very long time stuck at 64 k's an hour.
Yeah, just watching Timothy Vaughan now in the pit lane. He's pulling up to his box now. We'll see what tyre goes on that car. He is staying on the primary tyre. Now watching Daniel Edmonds now. He will also stay. No, he goes to the option tyre, Daniel Edmonds. So I think he might try and use that to his advantage and try and potentially jump Cameron Dance for position. Timothy Vaughan, he stayed on the primary tyre, so he'll be using that option tyre right at the end of the race. And now Adam Blocker, race leader, into the pit lane. Katakuznos also in the lane. Brady Carr, he's obviously going around to get his lap back. Cameron Dance now into the lane as well. So first and second now into the lane. So it'll be very interesting to see where Blocker comes out to Timothy Vaughan. If Vaughan can make any ground on him, and the battle between Edmonds and Dance will be crucial. There's Edmonds.
Edmonds. Oh, no.
That is big.
Huge fight. Looks like that's contact with another car. Who is that? Was that Lawrence?
Trying to pick it up now, Reese.
Hins, maybe? I don't know.
He's done it all on his own. He's absolutely done it all on his own.
Oh, wow.
Lost the rear end, cold tyres. He's just completely lost it. That's the second time we've seen that. Someone lose at the exact same spot on the option tyre. The race one winner, and we've had, looks like Lawrence went off in sympathy potentially for Daniel Edmonds, but he's got massive damage on the car. He's crawling back to the pit lane. Well, that's so unfortunate for Edmonds. Our round one winner will now be right down the back of the field. There's Blogger. He's gone out of the pitch. So Cameron Dance will be pretty free now. He'll have no challenge from Daniel Edmonds. Timothy Vaughan, he's gone through to second. And Cameron Dance pretty free and clear at the moment for position number 3, but that is a massive, massive shame for Daniel Edmonds.
It is indeed. And I'm also seeing that Chris Ireland had a black flag applied. I think either he entered the pits too quickly or took the pit speed limiter off a bit too soon. So Chris Ireland's battle with Dwayne Burns is gone for the time being. So now that almost the entire field has made their first stop, we'll look at this replay from Ben Johnson before I do that. That's exactly what happened to Daniel Edmonds just a few moments ago. Seems like turn 3 is not the place to be if you're on cold tyres coming right out of the pits. So, Chris Ireland with a penalty, and I'll give you the rundown on who's on what tyre. So, our leader Adam Blocker has switched to the soft tyre. Timothy Vaughan has stayed on the hard. Dance in third, he switched to the soft. So has Reese Margetts and Thomas Hinz. Harry Lawrence in sixth, he stayed on the prime tyre. Burns, Broad, and Carr all on the option tyre right now. Looks like the only driver left to pit is Robert Baxter, who's spent 22 laps so far on that soft compound. So those tyres will be crying out for some mercy now.
Yeah, Baxter will surely be pitting in the next few laps. Interesting to see the variants of tyre throughout the field. Obviously, Cam Dance, the first and third on the soft tyre. Timothy Vaughan, he's on the primary tyre, so he's saving his soft tyre to the end. He might lose a little bit of time to Blocker in this stage of the race, but might be able to gain it back in the back end of this race, and was following Daniel Edmonds. He went into the pits, got a fast repair. Drivers have one fast repair for this race, pretty much a replacement car. He's gone back out. Unfortunately, he's one lap down because he was so slow on his in lap, but he is still in this race, so he can pick up points, which will be crucial if he wants to try and keep touch in the championship hunt.
Meanwhile, we get some news on exactly what the penalty was for Ireland, and that is an easy thing to do, actually, at Indianapolis. You got to stick to the left of the white line on your way out onto the racetrack. Ireland entered the racetrack too early, so that's exactly what happened to him there. I saw Reese Margetts kind of do the same thing, but I don't think the sim picked it up, and he wasn't as far across the white line as Ireland was. So big shame there for Ireland, and Simrix.com DPR have had a night and day kind of race to Sebring here, with two of their drivers suffering very large issues. Actually, make it 3 if you include Kozlowski, Ireland, and unfortunately our race 1 winner, Daniel Edmonds, in that as well. Well, we'll keep an eye out for how they do in the near future as we train our eyes on the battle for 6th. Harry Lawrence dropping off the back of Thomas Hinz and Reese Margetts. He's facing off against these two, Dwayne Burns and Tyson Broad, side by side through the final corner. And I think Broad might be the one with the advantage here. Burns had to give up a little bit of momentum there. Broad picking it up nicely. And no surprise to see, he is on push to pass. Soft tyre versus soft tyre. And Broad wins the race into turn 1. Beautifully done move there. Broad has been steadily trying to work his way forward after being stuck behind for quite some time. In comes Robbie Baxter finally to cleanse the field, and the first of 2 pit stops will be complete.
He's done half the race on a set of option tyres as well, which is a very impressive effort for Robbie Baxter. As we just touched on, Tyson Broad now up to 7th. He is now closing in on the back of Harry Lawrence. That's for position number 6, I should say. Just in front of them is Mark Cochran. Fortunately, had a penalty early on. He's a lap down, so you just see how they negotiate the lap car of Cochran. He stays wide for Lawrence. Now Tyson Broad might be stuck behind Cochran as Lawrence runs a little bit wide there. Needs to turn 12. They'll keep Broad nice and close. Wouldn't be surprised if Broad gets on the push to pass right now and on cue, as he does. Thank you, Tyson. We'll try and make a move potentially into turn 1 here for position number 6 on Harry Lawrence.
Yeah, look at the overspeed that Tyson Broad has, draws alongside into the braking zone, and I think Lawrence will have no choice but to let him go here. Lawrence on the prime tyres. There's a bit more grip available for Tyson Broad. The drivers told us in the lead up to round one that the option tyre has about a second's advantage over the prime tyre straight out of the box, but of course that advantage goes away after a very short time, only a few laps, so have to make these moves now while they count.
Yeah, 100%, Reese. You get the main benefit just after a few laps, and it'll pretty well stagnate out to be the same, or if not a little bit worse than the primary tyre. But we have seen guys go really long, and checking the track temp, it's actually dropped a degree down to 16 degrees track temp. We started at 17, so that will be helping these guys. As you touched on earlier, Reese, at Sebring, the guys were not confident to run long at all on the option tyre. It was slightly warmer track temp. Now with a colder track temp, and these guys are going really long on these tyres, so it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. We're starting lap number 28, so we've still got 23 laps to go, so still a long way left to go in this race, but still one more pit stop for everyone to take.
Yeah, indeed. Bit of a fuel tank restriction in this series as well, which is going to necessitate 2 pit stops. Ryan Jones, meanwhile, chasing down Michael O'Brien. Jones was one of the first to take a scheduled pit stop, and on the outside coming into turn 1 is unsuccessful in getting by. But don't forget, he might potentially have a soft tyre stint at the end, which will help him here versus O'Brien, who's only on his 6th lap out of the pits on those option tyres. Jones switching to the prime compound, but he's definitely giving it a bit of a hurry up here on push to pass, making their way into turn 7. Have to keep an eye out for Atsushi Osafune as well. 7 laps into the stint on the hard compound tyre. He's still looking very fast, up 7 spots. He's looking very successful so far, is the Japanese driver. This battle for 6th still not over. Dwayne Burns now fancying a chance at Harry Lawrence. No push to pass being used there, but Burns does have the slipstream, a little bit more aggressive on the brakes, avoids locking up, nicely done. But in this first opening sector, you do need to just fall single file. These corners are very difficult to go side by side through.
Yeah, they very much single file until you pretty much get to turn 7, the corner coming up the 90-degree left-hand is probably the first overtaking opportunity after turn 1. So I was just thinking about all those incidents we've had at turn 3 tonight, race on the cold tyre. Every single guy that has had that spin has had the right inside tyres on that inside curbing at turn 3. So potentially that's something to watch out for these guys on the colder tyres. It's obviously not reacting too well on that inside curve. It's just spinning the cars out. So drivers will probably be seeing that and be mindful of it for their next pit stop, just to try and avoid that curb. Otherwise, they might end up like Daniel Emmons, unfortunately, have massive damage and effectively taken out of this race.
Yeah, the inside of the course is very bumpy through turn 3, and if you're on the curb, it just introduces a bit more of an unsettling effect to the car, and there's nothing that the drivers can do setup-wise to fix that. And of course, it's in the series name, Fixed Indy Australia. Everyone's running the same setup. The only things you can really change are potentially anti-roll bars on the fly, definitely the brake bias you can alter on your way around. Here's Michael O'Brien, meanwhile, looking for a move on Peter Baxter. That's a nice dive there at turn 1. Baxter has to let him go on the inside, and O'Brien looking to make up some time here after his unfortunate spinning early on. Jordan Ferguson, meanwhile, already back in the pits. He's only spent 9 laps out there on that hard compound tyre, and it looks like it is a scheduled pit stop for him. He's going back onto the softs.
Yes, he is, Jordan Ferguson. So he's going to try and go 20 laps to the end on the set of tyres, which is an interesting call, but we'll see how it goes. Brody Shepherd, I believe, also in the lane. Both those guys were a lap down, I believe. So unfortunately, they're pretty much out of the running for a really good result. And Bally Evans, he's on the charge back through the field. He had that penalty as Jacobson runs wide. The Race on Oz machine will run wide and give that position effectively to Bally Evans. Thomas Hens, the first of the lead runners coming into the lane. He's got on the softer option tyre he is. What will he change to on this stop? Trying to think now. He's gone to the primary. He is. So he's gone primary option primary, which I think is probably the standard strategy. Obviously, these guys aren't running too long on the option tyre out in front. Hinsey pitted lap 21, and he's already come back in on lap 31, or lap 30, apologies. So less than 10 laps on the option tyre for these front runners. So we'll have to keep an eye out on those guys. He was battling just before he came in the pits, Broad, Lawrence, and Dwayne Burns, and Brady Carr as well, to see what they do in response.
Yeah, so of that pack, Broad and Lawrence, Broad and Burns, sorry, they're both on the option tyre. Isaac Edwards trying his best here lower down in the field. He started from the pits, and it's looking like a change for position here between himself and Scott Kozlowski, who's made 2 visits to the pit lane so far, both due to some damage and incidents out on track. So it seems like wherever you are on the field, you have someone to race with, even if you're a lap off the rest of the field. So Lawrence is on the hard compound tyre right now in 6th spot. I would expect him to switch, to not switch to the prime towards the end. Potentially he wants that further advantage. But drivers like Hins telling us that if you've got the pace to run at the front, maybe a shorter stint on the option tyre is the way to go. You can burn through its advantage much quicker, take full advantage of it, and then whack the primaries back onto the end.
Well, I don't believe Harry Lawrence has actually used the option tyre in this race yet, so he's gone from primary tyre to primary tyre. So expect him to go long into this stint. Tyson Broad in front of him. Like you said, he's on the option, so is Burns behind him, and Brady Carr, not far behind them, is also on the option tyre. So expect them to pit a little bit earlier than Harry Lawrence, who still has to use that Red Bull option tyre in this race. So expect him to go probably to about lap 40-ish, maybe even later than that, to get the most out of that Red Bull option tyre towards the end of the race. And he should have some really good speed towards the end. And Timothy Vaughan as well still has to use the Red Bull option tyre. He's in second, but he's about 13 seconds off the lead. So he's effectively trying to keep off Cameron Dance. As we see live points, it's only 1 point between Vaughan and Dance, so it'll be critical for Tim Vaughan to stay in P2. He had to take that points lead, into round 3 in 2 weeks' time.
Indeed, and look at Blocker there, already 4th in the standings if he wins this race. So I think that if he decides to stick with this for more than a few races, we've certainly got a big title threat on our hands, considering his sheer dominance of this race so far. Atsushi Osafune, meanwhile, has to fend off against Bailey Evans, who's one of the many recovering drivers in this race. And look at that, that's a big dive. Osafune almost getting Takuma Sato there. That was a very aggressive move from Bailey Evans.
Yeah, it certainly was. We've seen a lot of aggressive moves all day from Bailey Evans. Harry Lawrence on the push pass down the inside of Tyson Broad. That is for position number 5 in making, actually on the prime tyre, passing the option tyre. So maybe Tyson Broad's use up all the tyre. He goes down the inside at turn number 4, sticks the nose in. They're going to try and go side by side through the chicanes. It's not going to work. Broad has to lift out of it to fight another day. And now he doesn't go on the push pass to try and reply back. I think Broad might be coming to the pits in the next lap or so, get on that primary tyre and try and set a few good laps while Harry Lawrence is still on an older tyre and try and get the position back later in the races. Final warning for Jordan Ferguson, unfortunately ignoring blue flags with Brady Cars. Dwayne Burns comes out of the pits now, taking his second stop. He's on the Red Bull soft tyre as well. So he's gone primary soft in this race. He comes out just in front of Greg Patrick, and just in front of Greg Patrick, apologies. And he's gone off.
Oh, no.
Exactly the same spot again, Reese.
Yeah, exactly the same spot again. And you notice that it's always been drivers on the soft tyre. That's very interesting. I don't know if that's a real effect, but man, keep an eye here on Dwayne Burns inside of the track, and whoop, rear tyres spin up. Also on the curb again, Brady. Fortunately, Burns managing to keep it out of the wall.
Yes, he did keep it out of the wall, but it's lost a lot of track position because of that. It's very interesting to note, Reece, like you touched on, all the guys that have gone off there have been on the option tyre and have touched that inside curbing with the right-hand side. So let's hope that Brady Carr, who's in the pit lane now, he doesn't fall to the same fate that Dwayne Burns just did. He should have a pretty clear track now with him spinning out, so Brady Carr should have a little bit of clear track in front of him. Harry Lawrence and Tyson Broad on screen still battling it out, and Brady Carr's gone off at turn 1.
Oh, okay. Turn 3, try turn 1. That's a massive, massive crash there for Brady Carr. And I don't know if he'll even have the drive to get it back to the pits. Oh, that's crabbing hard. Oh, that's not good. He might not be able to make it back to the pits under his own power if that continues. So how on earth did this happen for him? Comes out of the pits nice and easy, but just spins the tires right away.
I'm thinking the cold track temps as well. The tyres are just so cold when they come out on the track. You see 16-degree track temp as well. It's gone a little bit cooler throughout the session. So I think it might be catching drivers out that they got even less temperature in the tyres than usual. Brady Carr's trying to get it back to the pits. The ailing number 69 machine. Trying not to bring out a safety car. The left front does not look healthy whatsoever. So that's another victim that has been caught out earlier on in the lap. This time at turn number 2. I apologise, I called it turn number 1 early. It's turn number 2. But start of the lap, guys have been caught out on the cold tyre. So it'll be interesting to see if anyone else now gets caught out when they take their second stop.
Yeah, you'd hope not, though, because there's a lot of drivers in the top 10 here would really benefit from an incident-free race from this point on. You have to go all the way back to Thomas Hinz in 14th to find the drivers that have taken the second and final stop. Other than that, Sam Katakuzanos and Robert Baxter still have yet to visit the pits a second time in this race. Edmonds, who we saw having the big crash before, he only spent 1 lap out there before coming back into the pits, and I would expect that he's going to be staying on the soft tyres to the very end. As Ryan Jones comes in to the pits for his second stop, he started on the softs, switched to the hards. Let's see if he decides to commit to the hards to the end of the race, or switch back to the softs for an aggressive run at the end as Chris Ireland fancies a go at the number 10 of Dean Jacobson and gets it done beautifully at the first turn. Jones is switching back to the softs, so keep an eye out for him in the final stages of this race. Greg Patrick, I think, in the runoff area?
That's a weird spot to go off, Reece. We'll have to try and get a replay. I would think he's gone off at turn 4, I think, and he's come out on that runoff area and entered back on at turn number 6. So yeah, he's gone off at turn 4. So he's
big understeer.
So he's gone to the return road. He's skipped the chicane. Once he gets it back going in the sand, very hard to control in these cars with so much horsepower. Gets it back on the road and he's all good. And very interesting, Ryan Jones staying on the soft tyre. He'll have about 15 laps to go. He went 20 laps earlier on that tyre. So Brady Carr now coming out of the pits. Didn't he just come out of the pits about a lap ago, Reece? Or what was I?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, he did.
He hit the wall.
Apologise, Reece. I've had a complete mind blank. There's a few drop bag cars out there, so I've lost track. So I apologise for that. So he's got his repair. His teammate Tyson Broad has come into the pits as well. Michael O'Brien pits as well. So hopefully, as we've had a spin, Reece Margetts at turn number 1 has had a spin, Reece.
Margetts had just pitted. That's another instance of drivers getting on the power a bit too early on cold tyres and spinning out. This might be a carbon copy of what happened to Carr. Actually, no, it happened even earlier. It was the bump on the way out of the pit lane that turned him around. So drivers that were looking very quick at Sebring, they're not dealing well with these cold track temperatures. Our overall race leader, Adam Blocker, has come into the lane. He has switched he's actually red. He stayed on the soft tyres for this final stint of the race. Got his hard stint out of the way early on, and through all of that, he's built up a massive gap. Last time I looked, it was about 13, 14 seconds back to Timothy Vaughan, and look at that. He hasn't used a single push to pass this whole race.
No, he hasn't. So hasn't Cameron Dance either. Timothy Vaughan hasn't. Mahoney, Baxter haven't either. Reese Mudjets and Edmonds, who unfortunately has been in the wars. So Timothy Vaughan's still pushing up. Remember, he's on the primary tyre, so he'll want to go as long as he can on this set of tyres to utilise the soft tyre advantage. Cameron Dance is still staying out as well. Harry Lawrence, he's currently P number 3. He's going to stay out as well. And Adam Blocker, as we said, he's still P4 and he's had that pit stop. So if he can keep it on the black stuff, he's looking pretty safe for a really good result here tonight.
Yeah, that he is. Well, keep an eye out for what Timothy Vaughan decides to do, what kind of response he'll have, if any, to Adam Blocker in these final stages of the race. It has been the Adam Blocker show here at Indianapolis for Fixed Indy Australia Round 2. And it seems like all the series regulars have not been able to overcome him. So let's see what Timothy Vaughan does at the end of this lap. I would expect him to come into the lane. He's one of the drivers that went hard in the first 2 stints, and he's going to stay out another lap longer. Interesting to see. He hasn't used any of his push to passes either, so maybe he's going to go hell for leather in these final laps of the race, switch on to the softs, and get it done. We'll have to wait and see. I don't even know, even with push to pass and Blocker having the luxury of using all of his still, whether or not there's actually going to be a race for the win from there.
I honestly don't think so, unless he makes a mistake. I hopefully haven't cursed him, but he's been so good tonight. As Harry Lawrence, I just seen, has dived into the pits. He's been around the top 5 all night long, so we'll have to see how he fares. He was racing Hinsey, I believe, earlier on, so Hinsey's now coming through turn number 10 and 11. So we'll have to see where Harry Lawrence comes out once he serves his pit stop. But touch on Adam Blocker again. He's been sensational all night, pole position. He's pretty much led every... he's used 2 just to try and get away. He's got Bailey Evans who's lap down chasing him, but he doesn't need to use the push pass because he's got that big of a lead. He's been pretty good here tonight, Reese.
He has... and Tim Vaughan has not used any of his still, so I think Blocker's just trying to increase the advantage he has. Harry Lawrence and Peter Baxter jumping into the pit lane meanwhile, and I think also what he's trying to do as Adam Blocker is make sure that he gets the bonus point for the fastest lap. So, you know, put that little bit of extra edge on the rest of the field. Look at that, already back on push to pass. He's used 4 in a single lap.
Oh.
Incredible stuff. Oh my goodness, who is that on the start-finish straight?
Mark Cochran, I believe, was involved. Yes, it was. It was Cochran.
No.
Oh no, this is one we'll have to get a replay for, Reese. It was Mark Cochran and Sam Kuznos on the front straight. Kuznos got into the wall and massive contact with Cochran. Unfortunately for both of them, but it's definitely worth a replay for a viewing, Reese.
Oh yeah, check this out. So Mark Cochran, slow coming out of the final corner here. Which way do you go if you're Sam Katakuzanos? He ended up having to commit to the right, and then bam. That's a huge smash there on the front straight, and through came Adam Blocker right at the last moment. I tell you what, if Blocker had been a couple of seconds further up the road, it might have been race over for him. Meanwhile, looks like Tim Vaughan has decided to come into the pit lane, so has Atsushi Osafune. Joe Mahoney just completing his stop there in 9th place. Cameron Dance will assume the race lead here. One of only a few drivers left that has yet to take their second and final stop. Out comes Ben Johnson as well in P25. Harry Lawrence has come in for a 3rd trip to the lane, and I'm not seeing any kind of black flag for him. I am seeing a black flag for Joe Mahoney, though, who unfortunately is not going to finish any higher than 11th this time round. Looks like a bad pit exit for him. But I'm interested to see why Harry Lawrence has decided to come in for a 3rd occasion.
Oh, there's another crash on the exit of the final corner. One of the DPR cars.
Oh, dear.
Can't pick up who it is.
Oh, Osafune's gone off.
No, it's Edmonds again. Edmonds at the final corner had a massive moment on his own. That was huge. absolutely huge crash for Daniel Edmonds. There's the final corner. That car is crabbing as well. He's still he's trying to get off the racing line, which is smart, but man, that was an absolutely huge moment. The round one winners having an absolute shocker tonight. Just lost it on his own on the banking there, race on the entrance of the banking, and I don't know if he's going to try and drive around a whole lap. I think he will try, just like Brady Carr managed to do, but that car is not looking healthy.
Yeah, this is where it happened. He just caught the edge of it, didn't he? He was already fighting the car on the way out of the corner. Unfortunately, it seems like the transition onto the banking just exacerbated that as Cameron Dance comes in for his pit stoppers. Oh, dear. Oh, no. Sam Katakouzanos again. Daniel Evans has stopped. Yeah, I think we might. Daniel Evans, I think, requesting a tow from race control. Is there going to be a safety car in the final few laps of this race? Could this be the chance that the likes of Timothy Vaughan and Cameron Dance have been hoping for to try and fight against Adam Blocker?
It would certainly be interesting if we do get a safety car. It'll bunch the field right up. It'll make for an absolutely chaotic finish. Katakouzanos and there's a safety car, Reese.
There it is. Okay, the race is going to be neutralized. We are on for a sprint to the finish here at Indianapolis in AOG Fixed Indy Australia Round 2. Out comes Dan Yeaman in the McLaren 570S painted by Worm Paints. Speeding in the pits, obviously, but he's the race director. He's allowed to do that. He can just clear his own black flags there. Picks up the race leader, Adam Blocker. And you tell you what, in the midst of all of this, Thomas Hinz has found his way up to 4th. That is fantastic runnings there from Hinsey. And he might have a run at a podium here. He and Cameron Dance have battled each other in IndyCars before on quite a few occasions in the Majors series. This could be yet another run at that.
Yeah, it'll certainly be a fantastic battle right to the end. One thing I'm going to note, only 8 cars are on the lead lap race. 8. Yeah. That's the pace that Adam Blocker has set tonight. Scotty Rankin sitting behind him on the road at the moment. He's currently P9, which is absolutely incredible to see. We've seen last week barely anyone went a lap down on pure pace. And now Adam Blocker's lapped up to 8th, and Scotty Rankin's had a really good race. He's kept it clean all race long, and he's still got a lap down. So that just shows how good Adam Blocker has been tonight.
Yeah, I think this is a bit of a wake-up call to the rest of the field here. When you get an American driver who's had plenty of years of IndyCar experience on iRacing under his belt, and he absolutely thrashes you, maybe it's time to go and do your homework, do a little bit of extra study outside of the sim, because the pace that Adam Blocker's been able to wring out of that number 78 is simply magnificent. Well, Cameron Dance versus Thomas Hinz, the battle for the podium coming off this safety car period, which I would assume is going to be a pretty short safety car period. They're just going to, I think, give time for the field to form up. Maybe do some wave arounds, but that might take too much time. I think ideally what they want is for the race to get going again as soon as possible. We're only going to have 5 laps to go when they cross the line.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think I'm trying to listen to race director Dan Yeaman if they're going to let through those cars, because there is many cars in between the race leader Adam Blocker and second place Timothy Vaughan. So it looks like that process is getting done now. So
yep.
There goes Scotty Rankin, I believe, is about to pass the pace car. Yep, he does. Bailey Evans as well. So all the guys in between the race leaders that were a lap down getting passed by the safety car. Not as controversial as Abu Dhabi back a few years ago in the F1, but it will leave a pretty frenetic finish for this race. Cam,
he's in the pits. No mechanical black flag, no iRacing black flag. That's interesting there from Dance. I'm wondering, does he not have enough fuel?
You wouldn't think he'd risk putting on a new set of tyres just for 4 laps, because he's going to be down to 8th.
Yeah.
So he's losing all that track position, so that's going to be very... I'd think it's fuel. I would have to think it's fuel. You wouldn't think he'd come in early for tyres for that advantage, because he's lost 5 positions doing it. So yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, and he'd only spent 2 laps on that set of softs. It was an 8.8-second stop for Dance, which is right on the money for how long we expect a regular pit stop to take. So I'm just baffled there. What on earth is Cameron Dance got up his sleeve, if anything? Or has there been some other kind of issue that we've not seen yet?
It is very interesting considering under safety car you wouldn't be using as much fuel either. So, yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what Cam can do in the last remaining laps. There's still a few cars clearing the safety car. Asafene and Robert Baxter. Is the safety car going to try and come in this lap? Maybe not. The lights are still flashing. And we're currently at turn 10, coming up to turn 11. Lights are still on, so we will, don't think be going racing this time by, potentially next lap, trying to pick up where Scott Rankin is. He's coming through 9 and 10 now, so he would catch the field, but the safety car still has lights on. So potentially a problem for Cameron Dance. Maybe he didn't take enough fuel. We'll have to try and maybe get a word post-race so we can maybe report back for the next round race and see what actually happened with Cam.
Yeah, I think we'll have to do that. I'm just rewinding through Cameron Dance's last few laps to see if there was anything else that went on, because you saw the body language there. Obviously something's going on that he is very unhappy with. It seems to me like no, there's nothing. There's nothing that I can see that has given him any reason to drop back as far as he did. I do note that when he came into the pits for his scheduled stop at the end of lap 43, he had to pass Mark Cochran on pit entry. And Cochran was heavily damaged at the time. Cam had to take to the grass, so maybe there was like an unsafe pit entry thing for Cam that we missed. I honestly don't know at this stage.
If it was that race, I'd be thinking it was probably a little bit longer, and he'd been in the shop for a long time. Actually, in the Aussie car race last night, I got a speeding in pit lane, went a bit too quick on the exit. I got a stop and hold for 40 seconds. So I'm thinking if it was that type of pit lane violation, would be a stop and hold of nature. So I don't think it is that. I'm thinking he was low on fuel. He maybe just didn't take enough in that stop. Whether other people are going to be compromised on fuel, I'm not too sure, but I think we will be. Yep, safety car is in this lap, so we will have a 3-lap sprint to the end race. I cannot wait for this.
Yeah, I can't wait either. And look at the amount of push to passes that Adam Blocker has versus Timothy Vaughan. Tim is the one with the power advantage in these final 3 laps. And remember, Blocker was able to use push to pass 4 times in a single lap before the safety car came out. Dance, slow still. Something's gone very wrong for Dance, and we're not sure what. But we'll have to keep our eye on that sometime later. For now, it is Adam Blocker versus Timothy Vaughan at the start of this field. 4 times you can use push to pass in a lap efficiently. And, well, Timothy Vaughan, I think, can burn through every single one of them on the way to the finish line. It's up to Adam Blocker, though, to get things started here. Through the last couple of corners he comes as the safety car is officially in pit lane. Who's going to come away with the top honours here in Fixed Indy Australia round 2? Thomas Hinz starting to run out of push to passes as well. Only 6 left. Look at that. No surprise. Tim Vaughan immediately on push to pass. Cam Dance has got damage. Oh, huge crash. That's
Tim
huge.
Vaughan.
It's Vaughan. Tim Vaughan has spun out of the final corner. He got on the push to pass to try and overcome Adam Blocker, but I think that was too much power for those tyres. They just cooled down too much under safety car. That means it is now on for every position further on back. Tyson Broad passing Thomas Hinz for what is now 2nd on track. That's huge as well there from Michael O'Brien too. Ryan Jones and Peter Baxter losing positions in the midst as well. A chaotic restart here, but Adam Blocker has already left it far behind. Heartbreak. Absolute heartbreak for Tim Vaughan.
Yeah, Vaughan's done everything right this race so far and just gotten the push pass real early and potentially just too much for the cold tyres to handle. Fortunately, lost it right on the exit. Another replay of Cam Dance. I'm trying to work out what has happened with Cam
Oh,
Dance.
check
Oh,
up.
big pickup.
Oh, yeah, that's into the back of Osafune as well.
But I'm trying to find out why he was at the back of the queue anyway. Because
yeah.
unless... Oh, and Cam Dance actually had a massive spin just now at turn number 4. So his night has gone from bad to worse, but it's all kicking off. This restart has absolutely gone off its head. This is the battle for P number 2 at the moment. Broad down the inside of Hins. That's for second. Margetts is in there. And also Dwayne Burns. So it's all kicking off. These last 3 laps on this restart, it's gone absolutely mental race.
It has indeed. This is the onboard from Tim Vaughan. Gets on the push to pass, but he's a little bit too wide in the final corner. He was off the racing line where the rubber is. Not as much grip out there, and good on everyone to avoid him there. That was a very dangerous spot to spin, but it means he will finish nowhere near second. I mean, is it even worth pointing out who's on push to pass right now? You can see it, half the field basically. There's nothing that anyone can do though to catch up to Adam Blocker at this stage. He's up in the lead by 3.5 seconds over Tyson Broad, Thomas Hins, Reese Margetts, who's made his way back up to 4th place, Dwayne Burns into 5th from 12th. This is great potential for a good finish as the white flag comes out for the American in the lead. There's the battle for second. Breaking the draft is Tyson Broad. Can he keep Thomas Hins behind? All of them are on push to pass. All of them looking for one final run at gaining a position before the checkered flag flies.
This has been an absolutely wild race. Good thing to note, Thomas Hins has one more push to pass than Tyson Broad does, so we should see where they use it. Hins is on the push to pass now, so they both have 2 left. Will he get closer for a big bomb potentially into turn number 7? I don't think he's going to be close enough, Hinsy, so they've got 2 remaining each coming through turn number 7 to the back half of the section. Blocker's in a league of his own, 4.5 seconds up the road, but the battle for the podium positions is still on. Broad, Hins, and Margetts battling out for 2 positions, coming through 11 now in the final 3 corners of this race. Broad doing all he can to try and hang on to Thomas Hins. Hins has 2 push to passes. He won't use them both, as Adam Blocker will come across the line and take a dominant victory here at Indy Road Course. Broad will hang on for position number 2, and Thomas Hins 3rd in a wild, wild finish here at Indy.
That was crazy. Absolutely insane. There's still hard racing going on to the line there. Jordan Ferguson, meanwhile, losing his rear wing after a very unfortunate race for him. But nothing could stop Adam Blocker tonight. This was a simply magnificent performance from the driver of the number 78. Just came into this league like, oh, yeah, I'm an IndyCar driver in the sim. I've raced this car a lot. Here's what you can really do.
Yeah, absolutely outstanding performance there for Adam Blocker. I mean, he was just dominant all race long. Congratulations to him. Fantastic effort. Hopefully we get to see him at future rounds as well, because he really put it up to everyone else in the field tonight. So good on him, and hopefully we do see him in 2 weeks' time at Barber Motorsport Park and see if he can go 2 for 2 in the series.
Yeah, indeed. It's going to be quite a flip to go to Barber Motorsports Park from this place. Indy Road Course, wide, flat, smooth. Barber Motorsports Park is, well, yeah, it's smooth, but it's definitely not fast, and it's definitely not wide. Very different track indeed. Light 'em up, Adam Blocker. You have a victory to celebrate. Beautiful job there from the number 78 driver, and I think that's going to be all she wrote there. He was untroubled for the whole race. From the get-go, he was just pounding out those fast laps. He was keeping everybody a safe distance behind him. Just insurmountable, that kind of performance there from Adam Blocker. 4.7 seconds is the gap at the end. If there wasn't a safety car, he would have taken the win by around 15 seconds, I'd wager. But Broad and Hins, to take advantage of that really heartbreaking spin from Timothy Vaughan, to finish on the podium. Brilliant stuff. Good recovery from Reese Margetts, with Dwayne Burns and Scott Rankin making it into the top 6 from outside the top 10. Beautiful stuff from the both of them. Bailey Evans certainly had his issues, including a penalty. He managed to recover to 7th, which is pretty good from him. Chris Ireland from 14th to 8th. Good stuff from Mr. Ireland there, with Harry Lawrence and Dean Jacobson rounding out the top 10. Jacobson up 11 positions, and remember, he definitely had his issues tonight as well. I think everyone except Blocker had something go wrong.
Yeah, 100%. I think Blocker was the only one that had a real clean race. Brody Shepherd there in 11th in front of Ben Johnson, Graham Matterford, Greg Patrick, and Robbie Baxter rounding out the top 15. Michael O'Brien, who had a good run early on, unfortunately had that spin late on. Jordan Ferguson, Ryan Jones, Tim Vaughan, who again was outstanding all race until that mistake on the safety car restart. He'll finish 19th, and Peter Baxter will round out the top 20.
And the last car on the lead lap was Peter Baxter. Cameron Dance, our reigning champion. The race just fell apart for him once the safety car came out, and it's still a mystery as to what exactly happened to him. Brady Carr, meanwhile, a lap down, as was Isaac Edwards and Atsushi Osafune, who Cam Dance unfortunately ran into the back of with that checkup under safety car. Scott Seslowski and Joe Mahoney 2 laps down. Definitely would have been expecting a bit better tonight, with Mark Cochran not making it to 3 laps from the end. Unfortunate for Daniel Edmonds, our race 1 winner. He unfortunately just did himself in all by himself, spinning out 7 laps from the end. Sam Katakuzanos 8 laps down, and the final driver in our IndyCar field for tonight. So that's going to conclude things for the racing portion of tonight, but we'll have to bring in our race winner, congratulate him, and have a chat. Adam Blocker's with us now. Well, Adam, I think this is one of the first times I've actually spoken to you in the commentary box, despite commentating on many a race for you in V8 touring car racing. These things, though, are more your wheelhouse.
Yeah, definitely. It was a fun one. It was not expecting the cold temps, as I think everyone else was. There was a bit of a weather bug with the session, which happens with iRacing, but yeah, it made it interesting. And it was actually, I was afraid of cold tires being really sketchy, and they really weren't. So yeah, just kind of for most of the race, just kind of managed the gap I had, and then obviously things got pretty interesting at the end. But
yeah, what were you thinking coming to the end of that safety car period? Obviously, Tim Vaughan spun on the way out of the final corner, which left the door open for you to just walk through to victory. But were you aware that he still had all of his push-to-passes left to use?
No, I wasn't aware. One thing I considered doing, I think if I had an opportunity to, it was split second in the pit before the window started, or like when there was car stopped on track, and I think I would have come out like 2nd or 3rd, but I'm glad I didn't do that because I think that would have been the wrong call. I didn't realize he had all his push to pass, but I still had 5, which I think was going to be enough because we only had 3 laps, so you can realistically only use it. It's only beneficial really down the front, straight in the back straight, so I don't really know if having those extra push to passes would have really helped him.
Well, regardless, coming away with the win on your series debut. Now, we're aware that you have a partial program in mind for Fixed Indy Australia. Which rounds can we expect to see you at?
I don't know yet. It just depends on how often I want to wake up at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. and how busy my work schedule is. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I just figured it'd be fun because the SCOPS organizers always do a great job putting on events, and obviously this is my favorite car, so kind of the two combined I thought would be fun to try. So.
Well, we send our congratulations to you, Adam, on your win in round 2 of Fixed Indy Australia. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Just everybody for the great racing, and my teammates at Powerside Motorsports on the IndyCar side. Yeah, and have a good rest of your afternoon.
Yes, indeed. Thanks very much for joining us. Adam Blocker taking the win there in the second round of Fixed Indy Australia. Next up, Brady, what a finish it was for second. You're with Tyson Broad.
Tyson, firstly, congratulations on your second place finish tonight. You're there or thereabouts all race long, and in battles enthralled all throughout for you, and then see sort of parted for you at the end of the race there. Tell us how you saw the race unfold tonight.
Yeah, it was sort of a interesting one. I thought that the strategy that I used at Sebring was going to pay off. Sticking to the primaries as long as possible. But then sort of got surprised with how cold the weather was, and I was like, okay, maybe the alternates will work. So did that, and then didn't realize how cold the alternates were on the first lap out of the pits, and spun it twice there. So that wasn't ideal. But then yeah, obviously got somewhat lucky and unlucky with the safety car and all that, because obviously you want to go in and get new tires, but the pits are closed, so that sucks. But yeah, and then the restart was just manic and just trying to get anything you can, and especially pulling around the outside of Hindy at 1. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, we did see a lot of guys struggle, especially at turn 3 on the cold tyres. Coming out of the pits, we're seeing quite a few spins there tonight, and obviously that restart, like you touched on, was absolute chaos. There was so much going on. Did you have a particular strategy to try and get through that safety car restart, only with a few laps to go? So probably in the back of your head, you probably thought it would be a little bit chaotic.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be chaos. However, once Vaughan spun it on coming into the final corner, I was like, oh, okay, this is more chaotic than I thought. And I had to make sure that I didn't pass Hinsey before the line, so therefore I didn't get a penalty. And yeah, that could have kind of stumped my run a bit. But luckily, I still had a few push to passes left, so I just got on the button and went around the outside of him in the 1.
Yeah, 2 weeks' time, I believe we head to Barber Motorsport Park for round 3 of the championship. So, have you done any laps there before in this car, and what are your thoughts heading there in 2 weeks' time?
Absolute 0 laps in this car around Barber, and I am going to have no expectations at all as to what to expect there. But Barber's a cool track, and yeah, I think I'll get the hang of it before I know it.
Once again, Tyson, congratulations on your second place run tonight. But before we let you go, anyone you would like to thank for your run tonight?
Obviously, Dan and Tom from AOG for putting on the series. Jay, you two, Reese and Brady, for taking time out of your day to broadcast it. And then obviously all the boys at Drop Bear, all our sponsors and Cozy Engineering Solutions, Highbird Racer Simulators, and Bowler Media, as well as Evolution Race Gear, and just the other competitors for a great battle.
Thank you for the chat, Tyson. Hopefully it's not the last time we speak to you this season.
Hopefully not.
There's Tyson Broad, position number 2 there. Reese, I believe you've walked down the virtual pit lane and you have found position number 3 for tonight, Thomas Hinds.
Indeed, I have. Hinsey joins us now. That was a very crazy finish, Hinsey. Did you expect to be on the podium when the safety car came out?
I didn't expect to be on the podium at all. I was just happy to be in the top 10 amongst some big names. So yeah, I was just like, I'm just happy to chill top 10. And then it was after the first pit stop when everyone was the alternate. And about 3 or 4 of them all just speared off. And I was like, oh, well, okay, I'll take the 3 spots, I suppose. And yeah, I think I was just chilling there. And then obviously I did the switch the strategy because the alternate was wearing so fast, just no pace. So I thought I'll take the risk with the primary. And yeah, it seemed to work pretty well. So just pot around. And then, yeah, then last safety car was in a good spot and nearly ran into old mate spinning in front. That was a good scare. And credit to Tyson, he did a very brave move. It was a very, very good move for second. And yeah, then at that point, I just wanted to hold third. Would have been nice to get Tyson back, but I mostly just wanted to hold third and not let Reese take it. So because I think it's probably the only real chance I have at the podium in the series. So I thought definitely not gonna let that go. So yeah, glad it worked out. I didn't think it would on the primary. I was a bit scared there in the restart, but obviously a few of the guys behind were on pretty worn alternates. So once I realized that, I thought I had a bit of a chance. So thankfully it worked out.
Yeah, certainly did, Hinsey. Well, yeah, it's a good haul of points for you regardless. You're already in the top 10 last round at Sebring. Do you think Barber's going to bring good tidings for you as well?
Hopefully, I do really like that track. I think it's a very, very underrated track on iRacing just in general, frankly. It's just it's an amazing track and it's so much fun in these things. It's pretty full on. Obviously, it's quite a short, tight, technical track. And in these beasts, it really tests you, tests your endurance a bit. So yeah, it'll be a challenge for sure. But yeah, very keen for that. I'm always keen for Barber. And then yeah, it'll be interesting later on, obviously getting into the ovals where I'm not going to be that good because I literally have not done oval racing in I don't know 2 years or something. Maybe it's been a long time. So yeah, so I'm trying to take advantage of the roads that I know a bit better while I can. When I get to the ovals, I'm probably going to do very well. So that's the plan anyway.
All right. Well, big thanks for joining us, Hinsey. Anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go celebrate your podium?
Yeah, just thanks to all the HR guys as usual. They're awesome blokes as always, an awesome group that still support me despite sort of disappearing a lot these days. But yeah, they still just awesome bunch of guys. Just it's always been great racing them for 5 years I think now, something like that. Feels like a lifetime ago. But yeah, big thanks to them. Big thanks to obviously Dan as well and all the guys at AOG. They run a really great show and do it very well. So big thanks to them. Obviously we wouldn't have this if they hadn't weren't running it. So big thanks to them for that. And yeah, big thanks to you guys for putting on an awesome show as usual.
Well, thank you very much, Hinsey. Thumbs up from you towards the end. Well, that brings us to an end here, Brady. That means that Thomas Hinz actually leads the championship coming out of this round. I wish I'd seen that graphic before we let him go. It would have been nice to surprise him with the news.
Yeah, well, obviously with the demise of Cameron Dans and Timothy Vaughan later on in that race, they were first and second, now 6th and 7th. Coming into that round one winner, Daniel Edmonds, was glad he finished that race because he remains P3 in the points. But just look how close it is. It's 19 points between the top 10. So really nothing in it at all. Only 3 points between Hinz and Broad for the top spot. So nothing in it at all as we head into Barber in a few weeks' time race. So it's only going to be gloves off and action for the rest of the series.
Yeah, absolutely. March 17th is the date for round 3 of AOG Fixed Indy Australia at Barber Motorsports Park, one of my favourite tracks on iRacing. It's going to be like Monaco, so many twists and turns, but maybe a little bit more space to actually make passes. We'll have to wait and see how this very competitive field ends up tackling it. Big thanks to all of you across the world for joining us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Kick on SimSpeed TV. And we will see you when we see you. I'm Reese Gardner, Brady Baldwin with me in the comms box, Jay Kennedy behind the scenes, pressing all of those buttons. March 17th, mark it in your calendars for Fixed Indy Australia.